What's up, basketball fans? Welcome to the Rats Report. It is time to talk about the Toronto Raptors and potential draft candidates. I'm going to be talking about Rasheer Fleming in today's video. So if you are not familiar with him, we're going to be breaking down, what he could bring to the Toronto Raptors. Kind of just go a little bit more focus on stats for today's video and talk about his fit. And I'll make a future video of him and talk about more of his strengths and weaknesses as we come closer to the draft. So if you are ready to watch this video, make sure to hit the subscribe button. And with that being said, let's get into today's video. Alrighty, so who is Rasheer Fleming, you may ask? Well, he's listed as a forward, 6'9". It says 220 pounds here. He is actually at 240 pounds. He's only 20 years old, which is amazing. And now to quickly kind of go over his stats here before we start talking about, more advanced stats and his team fit. For Rasheer, as you see here, he's, played, 3 seasons in college, as you see there with St. Joseph there. And his latest season, he produced 14.7 points, 8.5 rebounds, 1.3 assists, 1.4 steals, and 1.5 blocks per game. His free throws, he is hitting at a respectable rate of 74.3% at, 2.9 free throw attempts per game. His three-point shot was amazing at 39% on 4.5 attempts per game. And overall, his field goal percentage was 53%. Now, of course, when we talk about stats, just that stat alone should be impressive. But one of the things I've really liked about Rasheer throughout his years in college, as you see with a lot of young players, and not even young players, you could even say this with a lot of NBA players, is when your role increases, when your shots increase, when your minutes increase, a lot of people do not rise to the occasion because more shots mean more shots means also more misses as well. And often that results in your three-point shot or your field goal percentage kind of going down a bit. But taking a look again at Rasheer's stats here, you see that, from the first season, he was shooting only 4.8 attempts from the field. Second season, 7.6. And of course, his third season, 10.1. But again, it's not even the shot diet, it's the amount of minutes he played. 20.5 minutes played in his first season, second season, 26.8 minutes, and his third season, he was playing 31.3 minutes a game. Yet this resulted in more production, higher field goal percentage. He went from shooting 42% in his first season to 52% to 53.1 in his last season in college. And again, similarly with the three-point shot here as well. You see there he was not a good three-point shooter to begin his career in college. 29% on only 2.4 attempts. The next season, his second season in college, he was shooting 32.4% on 3 attempts per game, and he's shooting more threes, yet he's made a significant jump in his three-point shot, a 7% jump at, 39% on 4.5 attempts from the three-point line. And again, similarly with his rebounds there, as you see, as well as his point production. Now, to quickly highlight on his advanced stats as well, I don't want to focus too much on anything besides the fact that I want to take a look at two statistical categories here, and that is offensive rating and defensive rating as well. So again, similarly to what I kind of highlighted about Rasheer was that, he's someone that is obviously increased his point production, rebounds, pretty much every single category, despite the fact that, he's taking on a bigger role on the offensive side. His stats have improved, but this is where it becomes really impressive. His offensive rating went from 106.6 to 123.6 to 123.9, yet his defense got a lot better. 101 rating itself is really good, but then you look at the next couple seasons. His second season, he had a defensive rating of 99.3. And his defensive rating in his final season, last season in college, was 95 defensive rating, which is absolutely insane. For Rasheer, he's going to be someone that's, going to do wonders for the Raptors. But I want to shift the focus more on from, Rasheer's just stats to kind of go on the Raptors stats as a team and talk about what areas he's going to help the Raptors in. So I do want to note these stats I'm presenting here are bench production stats, bench stats for each team throughout the NBA. And the reason I do this is a lot of the times, when you draft players, they're most likely going to be coming off the bench, but particularly for a Raptors team that already has Brandon Ingram, Scotty Barnes, RJ Barrett, Emmanuel Quickly, and Jakob. So it kind of seems like their starting lineup is already filled out. So the fact that Rasheer is going to be coming off the bench is going to be big for them because there are some stats we need to talk about. So when you look at the Raptors stats here, you see blocks per game. And as I highlighted, he's a good shot blocker. The Raptors bench ranked 23rd in the league. Again, this is going from bottom to top. So the Milwaukee Bucks are ranked 30th, as you see there, and the Toronto Raptors are ranked, again, bench stats only. I will get to the team stats as a whole in just a moment, but the bench stats here, only 1.5 blocks for the Raptors bench, which ranked them 23rd in the NBA rebounds. He's a good rebounder. And you see there, the Toronto Raptors bench was actually really good at rebounding. They were 11th. Again, the bench was 11th in the NBA in bench stats, averaging 16 and a half rebounds per game. And this is where, it starts to get a little bit, down the line in terms of what the Raptors really need to improve on, despite the fact that they had some good shooters off the bench. The Toronto Raptors were ranked 16 off of the bench and shooting only 35% from the three-point line. So when we talk about someone like Rasheer, you'll understand that he absolutely obviously helps the Raptors as a whole in terms of three-point shooting, but also the bench as well. And field goal percentage is very big too. Again, starting from the bottom and making our way to the top. So the Hornets are ranked dead last in the NBA, and the Raptors aren't doing all that great in field goal percentage either, right? 44.5% field goal percentage from the bench. So these are some of the areas that I really feel like he's going to help the Raptors. And again, most importantly, I know his stats may not blow you off in terms of point production, but similarly, the Raptors did do a great job from the bench, anyways, of point production at 36 point of points per game, which will rank them 12th in the NBA off of the bench. And one more thing here I do want to quickly talk about is that when we talk about bench stats, it's important to note that even though the Raptors are very good at a few categories, particularly producing points off the bench, we know what their bench look like. It is also important to note moving next season, the bench probably won't be playing as many minutes, considering that Brandon Ingram is coming into the picture. But also, when you talk about point production off the bench, I think one of the key success to a team playing really well during the regular season and producing a lot of wins is for your bench to be able to produce. Look, what we wanted to move away from what Nick Nurse was to be able to play the bench more. And I'm not saying that Darko won't play the bench, moving forward next season because there's a lot more at stake. But it is important to note that when you do play your bench players, you do want productivity. So even though the Raptors, produce a decent amount of points off of the bench, to be able to have a, let's say top 10 bench in the NBA is huge. Those are the kind of wins that give you extra 5, 10 wins at the end of the season. And that's the difference between potentially going from being a playing team to being a possible top six team in the Eastern Conference, right? So those kind of stats are very important to talk about. Let's talk about the Toronto Raptors as a whole, though, because there's a lot of weaknesses they do need to work on. And we'll talk about how Rasheer kind of helps them with that as well. So talking about the Raptors as a whole team stats here, as you see in point production, they rank 23rd in the NBA. And again, that's where your bench kind of comes in, right? Obviously, with Brandon Ingram in the picture, that alone is going to make a big difference. They should go from anywhere from 23rd to easily, top 15, 16, 17 in the NBA in point production. But again, adding someone like Rasheer Fleming shouldn't hurt that at all. Similarly, their three-point shooting should get better with Brandon Ingram, but Brandon Ingram won't be the only addition to the Raptors if the Raptors do decide to go with Rasheer, because he is a good shooter and he is someone that can, definitely play obviously the power forward position for you, but even in small ball lineups, he can play center position as well. And we know the Raptors have Jakob Poeltl, who doesn't really space the floor. So if you need some options as to who you want to play at the center, that definitely wouldn't help him. That would definitely help the Toronto Raptors as well in terms of three-point shooting and just spacing the floors, particularly for guys like Scotty Barnes. And of course, rebounding here, the Raptors do a good job. Scotty's a great rebounder, even RJ Barrett, and of course, Jakob Poeltl as well. And, having Jonathan Mogbo and Rasheer off of the bench is going to absolutely help that rebounding department a ton. Now, this is where my main concern, right? Like rim protection is a big thing for me for the Toronto Raptors. They do have good individual defenders. Jakob's good, Ochai's good, Scotty's obviously great at defending as well, but it certainly helps to have a good rim protector, whether he's a, whatever position, again, like the Raptors decide to play him at, whether that's power forward, the center position, he's a good rim protector, and that's going to be big for a team that doesn't really block a ton of shots, and the team as a whole ranks 28th in the entire league in blocking shots, which, again, it just helps your defense so much, even when you look at teams that have, good shot blockers, that deters so many opposing teams from going to the basket because, you just settle for three-point shots or even jump shots. So I think, when the Raptors figure that out, it'll definitely help their defense a lot and points allowed per game. Rasheer is a good defender. And this is one department, I think, when we talk about the Raptors as a whole, obviously they've added Brandon Ingram, which is great. But the concern for me, obviously, is going to be the defense, next season. How's the Raptors defense going to look? Because individually, yes, we have some good players, but as a team defense, how are they going to look? And if the Raptors do decide to draft someone like Rasheer Fleming, he's definitely going to have a huge impact on the defensive side as well. So just to kind of summarize on what areas that Rasheer Fleming is going to help the Toronto Raptors, he's definitely going to help. He's going to help improve their team defense. He's also going to help stretch the floor for a Toronto Raptors team that does not shoot a ton of three pointers. I shouldn't say they don't shoot a ton of three pointers. I feel like they will next season even more, but they're not great at making them, right? So that's when, guys like Rasheer come in. And again, I know it seems like you're placing a really high expectation for a rookie coming in to expect him to do that much. But you'd be surprised how much rookies, especially good ones, can impact a team and just those little things as well, right? So he's also a good rim protector. As I talked about, the Raptors have good individual defensive players, but in general, you need a rim protector. You also need size for particularly this Toronto Raptors team as well. He helps crash the boards. Those are second chance points, which are so important. And again, if the Raptors in general aren't a great three-point shooting team, you shoot three-point shots, you get, Rasheer Fleming kind of crashing the boards there. That's definitely going to help. And he's actually a very physical player at it all, and as well, and he's going to provide a lot of physicality for the Toronto Raptors team. So I mean, if you just go and watch his highlights for 2 minutes, you'll understand what I'm talking about. Again, I didn't want to get too much into his strengths and weaknesses. I wanted to kind of focus this video more on his strengths, kind of how he's going to help the Toronto Raptors, and just really focus on focus on the stats as well, and how he's going to be able to help the Toronto Raptors moving forward next season. But Rasheer Fleming, I saw his highlights and immediately I knew the Toronto Raptors would be interested, because what did Bobby Webster say when he talked about potential draft and what they're looking for? Potential draft candidates. He did say that he's going to be looking for two-way players, and Rasheer provides just that. I mean, if you look at a team right now, who am I a big fan of that I mentioned in my previous video? When you talk about Minnesota, who is the X factor there that I said would be a huge X factor that a lot of people seem to forget about? It's Naz Reid. I actually wanted the Raptors to sign Naz Reid when he was an unrestricted free agent. Obviously, the Minnesota wasn't going to let him go anyways, but Naz Reid is a player he reminds me a lot of. He's actually gotten player comparisons to Pascal Siakam. I don't see the similarities. Rasheer's just absolutely physical. He's so physical and he's so strong for someone at 6'9", 240 pounds. It's amazing. And again, he's only 20 years old. He can shoot the three. He can block shots as well. So I think having someone like that in your system is going to be great, especially for big men. If he's only 20 years old and he's doing this at the college level, wait till you get him in your system and wait till you have him for 2, 3 seasons to see how he fully develops. And it's going to be a pleasure to have him in our system. So again, I know he's not some of the sexiest names that you hear. There's a lot more sexy names that you hear in potential draft candidates. We'll be obviously talking about more draft candidates as we get closer and closer to the NBA draft. But Rasheer has been someone that do not be surprised if he goes into the top 10. Right now, a lot of mock drafts have him sitting anywhere from 11, 12 to even 15, 16, 17. But a lot of teams are looking for these kind of players that are power forwards, that can play small ball center, that can block shots, but also shoot the three and are physical as well. So again, I don't want it to go too much into his strengths and weaknesses. I do want to see that for another video, because this video would be running too long if I did all of that in today's video. But I really like Rasheer, and I highly suggest that you guys start looking into him, because I think he could be a potential candidate for the Raptors to draft in this year's NBA draft. So if you've enjoyed this video, make sure to hit the like button. And as always, I do have a trivia question for you today. And the trivia question for today is, what is Rasheer Fleming's wingspan? I did not want to mention this, but I wanted to make this a trivia question. Try to guess without trying to Google it, guys. Is it A, 7'1"? Is it 6'11"? Is it C, 7'3"? Or is it D, 7'5"? So what is Rasheer Fleming's wingspan? Let me know in the comment section below. Let me know what your thoughts are if you've already scouted him. Do you like this pick for the Toronto Raptors? Do you dislike this? Do you like someone else you have in mind? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And as always, thank you so much for watching this video. And I hope you guys have yourselves a great day.